Assalamu alaikum. I'm Saif al-Islam, your host for halalradi 1, broadcasting live from Sheffield to the UK and the rest of the world. This is the 7 o'clock slot coming to you tonight and every night throughout the month of Ramadan. Please join us and listen to the stories of men around the Prophet. Tonight we carry on with Abd ibn Masuud. Please join me in a small prayer before we begin. Ya Allah, we depend on you. We have no power of our own. When things are going well for us, we know they have come from you, and we have no power of our own. In our trials, we rely on you. In our temptation, we trust in you. Our success is in your hands, and so is our lives. We have no power of our own. Ya Jabir, Ya Kareem, we cannot do without you. Save us from all evil, and guide us going out and coming in, now and forevermore. Ameen. Abdallah ibn Masuud, the first writer of the Quran. Before the Prophet, peace be upon him, entered Dar al-Qum, Ibn Masuud had declared his belief in Islam. He was the sixth one to embrace Islam and follow the Prophet, peace be upon him. Thus, he was one of the early Muslims. He narrated his first meeting with the Prophet, peace be upon him. I was a young shepherd boy responsible for the sheep of Uqba ibn Mu'at. The Prophet, peace be upon him, once came with Abu Bakr and said, "Oh boy, do you have milk for us to drink?" I said, "I can't let you drink their milk." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Do you have a virgin sheep that has never been mated with a male?" I said, "Yes," and I brought it to them. The Prophet, peace be upon him, caught it and stroked its udder and prayed to Allah till the udder filled. Abu Bakr brought him a concave rock into which he milked the sheep. Abu Bakr drank the milk, and then after that the Prophet said to the udder, "Shrink," and it did. I went to the Prophet after this incident and said to him, "Teach me this kind of talk." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "You are already a learned boy." Abdallah ibn Masuud was fascinated to see the pious servant and messenger of Allah supplicate Allah and stroke the virgin udder till it gave milk, pure and agreeable to those who drank it. Ibn Masuud did not realize that what he had seen was but the least wonderful miracle, that soon he would see at the hands of the honourable Prophet other miracles that would shape the world and fill it with light and faith. He did not realize either that he himself, the poor, weak, hired shepherd boy working for Uqba ibn Abu Mu'at, would be one of those miracles when he became, through his Islam, a strong believer capable of defeating the pride of the Quraysh and overcoming the oppression of its martyrs. Before his Islam, he never dared to pass by a session attended by any Quraysh nobleman except with hastened steps and a bowed head. But after Islam, he was capable of going to the Kaaba, where the elite Quraysh congregated, and standing among them reading the Quran in a loud, beautiful, impressive voice. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, the most beneficent, has taught the Quran. He created man. He taught him eloquent speech. The sun and the moon run their fixed courses, calculated with measure out stages for each, and the herbs to the stars and the trees both prostrate. He went on reciting with the Quraysh, while the Quraysh were thunderstruck, not believing their own eyes or ears. They could not imagine that the one challenger in their pride was just one of their hired shepherd boys. Who was the poor, unknown Abdallah ibn Masuud? Let us hear an eyewitness. Az-Zabir, may Allah be pleased with him, described the exciting scene. Abdallah ibn Masuud was the first one to recite Quran publicly in Mecca after the Prophet, peace be upon him. It happened one day that the Prophet's companions were gathered with the Prophet, peace be upon him. They said, "By Allah, the Quraysh have never heard the Quran being recited to them before. Isn't there any man to recite it so that they may hear it?" Thereupon Abdallah ibn Masuud said, "Aye." They said, "We are afraid that they may harm you. We want a man with a strong family to protect him from those people if they want to harm him." He said, "Let me go. Allah will protect me." Ibn Masuud went to the Maqam at the Kaaba and recited, "In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, the most beneficent, He has taught the Quran." And he went on reciting. The Quraysh gazed at him and said, "What does Ibn Ab say? He is writing some of what Muhammad came with." They went to him and began to beat him. He turned to his friends. They went to him and began to beat him in the face while he was reciting till he finished. Whenever Allah wished him to recite from the surah, he returned to his friends with a wounded face and body. And they told him, "This is what we were afraid of would happen to you." He answered, "Those enemies of Allah have never been more worthless to me than this moment, and if you wish I will go back to them and do the same tomorrow." They said, "No, it is enough for you. You have made them hear what they hated." Indeed, when Ibn Masuud was fascinated by the sheep's udder, which was filled with milk before its time, he did not realize that he and his humble friends would be one of the greater miracles of the Prophet, peace be upon him, on the day they carried the banner of Allah, with which they outshone the sun. He did not realize that such a day was very near. Soon that day came, and the poor hired boy became a miracle. He was hardly seen in the crowd of life, and not even seen away from the crowd, because he was too humble when compared with those who possess wealth, power, and social status. Financially, he was poor. Physically, he was feeble. Socially, he was a nobody. But Islam compensated him for his poverty with a large share of the treasure of Khosrow and Caesar. Islam also compensated him for his physical weakness with a strong will that conquered the oppressors and helped to change the whole historical course of events. Again, Islam compensated his humble social status through immortality, knowledge, and honor that gave him an eminent place among the most prominent historical figures. The Prophet's prophecy about him, which said, "You are a learned boy," was true. Indeed, Allah endowed him with knowledge till he became the most learned of this ummah and the best one to know Quran by heart. Ibn Masuud described himself saying, "I, in fact, took from the mouth of Allah's Messenger more than 70 surahs of the Quran. I have a better understanding of the book of Allah than any of you." It could be that Allah wanted to reward him for risking his life when he used to recite Quran everywhere during the years of torture. So he, the Almighty, endowed him with a wonderful talent for reciting and understanding the Quran to the extent that it made the Prophet, peace be upon him, direct his companions to follow his example. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Stick to the method of Ibn Abd." He recommended that they imitate his way of reciting and learn it from him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever wants to hear the Quran as fresh as it was revealed, let him hear it from Ibn Abd." And said, "Whoever wants to read the Quran as fresh as it was revealed, let him read it in the way Ibn Abd does." It was a pleasure for the Prophet, peace be upon him, to hear Quran being recited from the mouth of Ibn Masuud. The Prophet, peace be upon him, once called him and said, "Recite to me, Abdallah." Abdallah said, "How can I recite to you when it was revealed to you?" The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "I like to hear it from others." Thereupon Ibn Masuud started reading part of Surah An-Nisa till he reached the verse, How then will we bring from each nation a witness, and we bring you as a witness against those people. On that day, those who disbelieved and disobeyed the messenger will wish they were buried in the earth. But they will never be able to hide a single fact from Allah. Quran 4, verses 41 to 42. Upon hearing this, the Prophet's eyes flooded with tears, and he waved to Ibn Masuud, saying, "Enough, enough, Ibn Masuud." Ibn Masuud himself talked proudly about Allah's bounty upon him. "By Allah, there is no surah in the book of Allah about which I do not know where and in what context it was revealed. I have a better understanding of the book of Allah than you do. And if I were to know that someone had a better understanding than I, and I could reach him on the back of a mule, I would definitely go to him on a camel's back, but I am not better than you are." The Prophet's companion witnessed this in him. Commander of the faithful Umar ibn al-Khattab said about him, "He was filled with knowledge." Also Abu Musa al-Ashari said about him, "Don't ask me about any matter as long as you have this scholar among you." He was not only praised for his knowledge of Quran and jurisprudence, but also for his piety and God-conscious. Hudayfa said about him, "I have never seen anyone more like the Prophet, peace be upon him, in his way of life and characteristics than Ibn Masuud. He also said the lucky companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, realized that Ibn Abd is the nearest one of them to Allah. One day a number of companions were gathered at the house of Ali ibn Abi Talib and said to him, O Commander of the Faithful, we have never seen a man who is more virtuous, more learned, more companionable, friendly and God-fearing than Abd Allah ibn Masuud. Ali said, I beg you by Allah, is this true from your hearts? They said, yes, Ali said. O Allah, I testify in front of you that I say about him like what they said and more. He read the Quran and did what is lawful in it and avoided what is forbidden. He was knowledgeable in religion and scholarly in sunnah. The Prophet's companion said about him, he was admitted to the company of the Prophet, peace be upon him, whereas we were detained, and he was present in his company, whereas we were absent. This means he used to have more privileges than others. He used to enter the Prophet's house and sit with him more than anybody else. He was the one the Prophet, peace be upon him, entrusted with his secrets to the extent that he was entitled the secretary. Abu Musa al-Ashari, may Allah be pleased with him, said in this context, I came to Allah's messenger, peace be upon him, and thought that Ibn Masuud was among the members of his family. This means that the Prophet, peace be upon him, loved him dearly for his piety and intelligence. He said about him, if I were to appoint a commander without consulting the Muslims, I would have appointed Ibn Abd. And as mentioned before, the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked the companions to stick to the method of Ibn Abd. He was so near the Prophet, peace be upon him, and so trusted by him that he was given more privileges than anyone else was given. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told him, my permission to you is that you may raise the curtains. This indicates his being allowed to knock at the Prophet's door at any time during the day or night. This is why the companion said he was admitted to the company of the Prophet, peace be upon him, whereas we were detained, and he was present in his company, whereas we were absent. He was really up to this standard. Although such a close relationship could have created some sort of intimacy, Ibn Masuud's attitude towards the Prophet, peace be upon him, was always one of respect and politeness. This was even after the Prophet's death, although he seldom mentioned the Prophet, peace be upon him, after his death. In most cases, when he did mention him, he began to tremble and shake, and all the signs of worry, perplexity appeared on him. This occurred whenever his lips began to murmur, I heard the Prophet, peace be upon him, say, lest he should forget or change one single letter of what was said. Let us hear what his brothers in Islam said about such behavior. Amir ibn Mayan reported, I was frequently visited by Ibn Masuud for about a year, during which time I did not hear him speak about the Prophet, peace be upon him, but one day he was talking and he added, the Prophet said, at this moment he was badly troubled and started to sweat and corrected himself. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said something like that. Al-Qama ibn Qais reported, Ibn Masuud used to speak to people every Thursday night. I never heard him say the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, but he once said it, and he was leaning on a stick that started to shake in his hand. Also, Musruq narrated on the authority of Abd Allah, one day Ibn Masuud was speaking, and he said, I heard the Prophet, peace be upon him. On this, he and his clothes started to shake. Then he corrected himself, say something like this. Thus, the veneration of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in his heart was that great, and this was a sign of his intelligence. Such a man who accompanied the Prophet, peace be upon him, more than anybody else, was the best to realize how great the Prophet, peace be upon him, was. Therefore, he maintained the manner concerning him during his life and after his death. Ibn Masuud never missed the company of the Prophet, peace be upon him, either while traveling or at home. He participated in all the battles, and on the day of Badr, his role was significant. Especially with Abu Jahl, the Prophet's, peace be upon him, caliphs were also fully aware of his proper value. The commander of the faithful, Umar ibn al-Khattab, appointed him as director of the treasury Bayt al-Mal in Kufa, and he said to the people there, by Allah, there is no God but he. You know that I have given you a preference over myself. Then I sent him to you to learn from him. The people of Al-Kufa liked him as they never liked anyone before him. It was a real miracle that the whole people of Kufa agreed on liking somebody, because they were known to be a people of rebellion and mutiny. They hardly agreed on one kind of food, and they did not tolerate peace and tranquility. Their love for him was so great that when the Caliph Uthman, may Allah be pleased with him, wanted to discharge him from his office, they surrounded him and said, "Stay with us and don't go. We will protect you against anything that you don't like." But Ibn Masuud gave them an answer that really reflected his greatness and piety. He said, "He has the right of obedience on me. There will be turbulence coming, and I hate to be the first to open the door to it." This wonderful situation discloses to us the nature of the relationship between Ibn Masuud and Uthman. They had an argument and a disagreement between them, which ended when the Caliph cut in Ibn Masuud's salary from Bayt al-Mal. In return, Ibn Masuud never spoke ill of the Caliph. On the contrary, he used to defend him. When he heard about the attempted assassination of Uthman, he said his famous words, "If they kill him, they will not find anyone like him to succeed." Some of Ibn Masuud's friends said, "We never heard him uttering a bad word about Uthman." Allah endowed Ibn Masuud with wisdom along with his piety. He had an insight that enabled him to see facts beyond the surface and the capability to express such facts in an intelligent style. For example, he summarized the life of Umar ibn al-Khattab in one concise sentence. Umar's Islam was an opening, his hijrah was a victory, and his rule was a mercy. He once expressed the idea of relativity of time, saying, "Your Lord doesn't have day or night, because the light of the earth and the skies is but from the light of his face." In another context, he praised the value of work in raising the social standard of man. "I hate a man living in leisure and nothing to do, either for his worldly life or the life to come." The next is a comprehensive phrase. "The best wealth is the wealth of the soul. The best provision is right conduct. The most major of sins is lying. The most evil earning is usury. And the most evil of what can be eaten is eaten up in property of orphans. Whoever accuses another will be accused by Allah, and whoever forgives others will be forgiven by others." That was Abd Allah ibn Masuud, the Prophet's, peace be upon him, companion, and thus is but one glimpse of the heroic life he lived in the way of Allah, his Prophet and his religion. That was the man who had been as small as a bird. He was so thin and short that he was the same height as a sitting person. He had very thin legs. He once climbed a tree to pick some arak sticks for the Prophet, peace be upon him. When his companions saw how thin his legs were, they laughed. The Prophet said, "Are you laughing at Ibn Masuud's legs? On Allah's scales of justice, they are heavier than the mountain of Uhud." Indeed, that was the poor, weak, hired boy who became by faith an Iman, leader, guiding people to the light. It was Allah's bounty on him that he was counted among the first 10 companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who were promised to enter paradise while they were still alive. He participated in all the victorious wars with the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his caliphs. He witnessed how the two greatest empires opened their gates in submission to the banners of Islam. He saw the high position and lucrative money pour into the hands of the Muslims, but his mind was never obsessed by such matters. Instead, he was preoccupied with how to fulfill the pledge he offered to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he was also never tempted to give up the life of humbleness and self-denial that he used to lead. He had only one wish that he dreamed all his life might come true. Let us hear him speaking about it. "While I was with the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the Battle of Tabuk, I woke up at midnight to see a flame of fire near the place of the army. I followed it and found the Prophet, peace be upon him, Abu Bakr and Umar digging a grave to bury Abd Allah Dhul Bijadain al-Muzini, who died at the time. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said in the grave and asked Abu Bakr and Umar, 'Hand your brother to me.' And they did. After he put his body in the grave, he said, 'O Allah, in this night I am fully satisfied and pleased with him, so be you pleased with him. I wished I was the one being buried in that hole.'" This was his whole wish in his whole life. It was not related to what people were racing at in his life. Such a wealth, social status, and glory. It was the wish of a man who possessed a kind heart, a noble soul, and a strong faith. Such a man was guided by Allah, educated by the Prophet, peace be upon him, and enlightened by the Quran. Allahu Akbar, subhanallah. Another beautiful story. Well, that's the end for this evening. Please join us again tomorrow on Halal Radio 1. Again, we'll continue these stories throughout the next few weeks in Ramadan. And if you do have any questions, please email halalradio@gmail.com. We do have a qualified email who is willing to offer advice and answer your questions according to Quran and Hadith. Until tomorrow, Salam Alaikum.